Welcome back to the Dope Dive. We're here to sift through the noise, pull out the key insights from research and real-world strategies, and we'll bring them straight to you. And if you're listening, chances are you know the feeling, that constant sense of distraction. It's almost become the background noise of work, hasn't it? Our sources actually put a number on it, something like 47% of people feel distracted at work, constantly pulled between worries about the past, anxieties about the future, endless notifications. So today, we are really diving deep into mindfulness, but maybe not in the way you usually hear about it. We're looking at it less as just, a stress relief thing, and more as a genuine strategic tool for boosting performance, improving leadership, building resilience, especially in really tough environments. We've looked at a whole range of stuff from the ancient spiritual roots all the way to modern corporate guides. Think Google, Apple, McKinsey. Even programs for military leaders dealing with extreme stress. Our mission, to really unpack how cultivating this non-judgmental presence moment to moment can give you real tangible benefits for your focus, your effectiveness, and crucially, to give you some techniques you can actually use, like today.
Yeah, and it's so important to start with what mindfulness actually is. Because, with all the corporate buzz, it can sometimes sound a bit like just another wellness trend. But at its core, it's quite simple. It's about being fully present, right here, right now, not lost in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries. And crucially, doing that with a kind of openness and accepting attitude. And this isn't new, of course. It's an incredibly old practice. It comes straight out of traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism, practiced for, centuries and centuries, designed to quiet the mental chatter, really, and see things more clearly.
That historical context is vital, I agree. But the actual English word mindfulness, that's much newer, isn't it? I imagine that specific translation was pretty key to bringing it into Western science and psychology.
It absolutely was. The term mindfulness itself was introduced by a Buddhist scholar, T.W. Rhys David, right around the start of the 20th century. He was translating a specific Pali term, sati, or simriti, in Sanskrit. And that original word carried meanings more like remembering or holding in mind, recollecting. It wasn't just about being calm. In classical Theravada Buddhism, developing sati isn't passive, it's an active effort. You're constantly bringing awareness moment by moment to your body, your feelings, your thoughts, what's influencing them. It takes real attention, memory, and what psychologists call metacognition, self-awareness. So it's really a systematic training of the mind, much more active than just, telling yourself to chill out.
And I think that active, systematic quality is probably why the corporate world eventually sat up and took notice. You mentioned the buzz, the data backs that up. Those Google search numbers you found were pretty stark. What was it, 6 million links for mindfulness in 2011, jumping to over 17 million just 2 years later? So whether people call it a revolution or worry it's just a fad, clearly something serious is being explored there.
Oh, definitely. You look at places like McKinsey, Apple, Google, General Mills. These aren't organizations known for adopting fluffy wellness trends just for show. They're integrating these practices because they see a direct link to solving core business problems. The research is showing clear links to better outcomes. We're talking improved task performance, better working relationships, increased resilience. And it seems to stem from how mindfulness impacts self-regulation.
Self-regulation. Okay, can we break that down a bit? What does that mean in practical terms?
Sure. Self-regulation is basically how we manage ourselves. Our physiological responses like stress hormones, our cognitive processes like attention, our emotions, and our behavior. Mindfulness seems to positively influence all of those.
Okay, and the mechanisms behind that. You mentioned things like increased response flexibility. That sounds a little bit like jargon. What are we really talking about there, in a stressful moment?
Right, good question. Response flexibility is really about having a choice. Instead of automatically reacting in a habitual way, maybe lashing out or shutting down or procrastinating when stress hits, mindfulness creates a little bit of space, just a fraction of a second sometimes. But in that space, you gain the flexibility to choose a more considered, helpful response rather than just running on autopilot.
Okay, that makes sense. That tiny pause makes all the difference. You also mentioned something about dissociating the self from experience. That sounds quite intense. What does that mean for someone just having, say, a really tough day at work?
It's maybe less intense than it sounds. It's really about perspective. It means learning to see your thoughts and feelings as thoughts and feelings, temporary mental events passing through your awareness, rather than defining truths about who you are. So the thought, I'm failing at this, is just observed as a thought. It doesn't automatically mean I am a failure. By creating that separation, that dissociation between the self and the stressful experience, you stop being so caught up in it. You ruminate less, and it frees up your mental energy.
And the results of these mechanisms, they're actually measurable, aren't they? We saw that UK data about sick days lost to mental ill health being sky high. And there was that one case study projecting, a potential 300% ROI, just from reducing sickness absence after putting in a mindfulness program. When you see numbers like that, it definitely shifts from nice-to-have wellness perk to, well, a potential strategic advantage.
Exactly, which leads us naturally to leadership.
Yeah.
How does this mental training translate when the stakes are high, when decisions really matter? The research suggests mindful leaders tend to score higher on self-awareness, on self-efficacy, the belief in their own ability, and critically, on the capacity to manage difficult emotions effectively, which of course ties directly into emotional intelligence.
And that emotional management piece, for a leader, it isn't just personal, is it? It ripples outwards, affecting the whole team, that whole emotional contagion idea.
Precisely. That's a really crucial point. Leaders almost have an ethical responsibility to manage their own emotional state, because emotions are contagious in groups. Whether a leader shows up radiating stress and negativity, or calm and positivity, that feeling tends to spread. It directly impacts team morale, well-being, and even job satisfaction.
So, if the boss walks into the Monday meeting visibly stressed and snapping at people, that sets the emotional tone for everyone, whether they consciously realize it or not.
That's the perfect example.
Yeah.
That's emotional contagion in action. So managing your internal state as a leader is managing your team's climate, productivity, and even their sense of psychological safety.
It's fascinating how this connects to decision-making, too, especially when you contrast it with, say, traditional decision science. That field often focuses on cataloging all the ways our thinking goes wrong, heuristics, biases.
Right. It identifies the common errors. Mindfulness takes a different approach. It's less about analyzing the errors after the fact and more about cultivating the mental state where those errors are less likely to happen in the first place. It emphasizes observing your thoughts with that open, non-judgmental awareness. And by strengthening attention and clarity, the training demonstrably helps reduce specific cognitive biases. The sources highlighted things like the sunk cost bias.
Ah, yes, continuing with something just because you've already invested so much, even if it's failing.
Exactly. And also confirmation bias. Seeking out information that confirms what you already believe and ignoring evidence that challenges it. Ultimately, what mindfulness gives leaders is enhanced metacognition, that ability we touched on earlier to step back and observe your own thoughts, feelings, impulses as just mental events, not reality itself. And that observation creates that critical space, the space to choose an informed, intentional response rather than getting hijacked by an automatic, potentially biased reaction.
That space really does seem to be the key benefit. Okay, so since metacognition gives us that pause, let's shift gears. We've talked a lot about the why, the benefits, the background. Let's get practical. Let's dive into the how. What are some simple, actionable techniques listeners can use right now to interrupt that autopilot and cultivate that space?
Absolutely. Sometimes the simplest practices are the most powerful, especially for just breaking the cycle of overwhelm. Immediate grounding is often the first step.
Yeah, like that classic 5 senses exercise. I find that one incredibly useful when my mind is racing or I feel overwhelmed. It's so simple. You just, deliberately pause and force your attention back to the present moment. Notice 5 things you can actually see right now. And 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It sounds almost too basic, but it really does pull you back to the here and now. But what about for really high stress moments, when emotions feel like they're about to boil over?
For those intense moments, there's a fantastic tool from dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT. It's called the STOP skill. It's designed specifically to interrupt impulsive reactions when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Ah, yes, SDOP. It's an acronym, right? Easy to remember under pressure.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. So S is simply for stop, just pause, don't react, don't do anything for a moment, freeze the action. T is for take a breath, a slow, mindful breath. Really focus on the physical sensation of breathing. Use it as an anchor to the present moment. O is for observe. Notice what's happening inside you, your thoughts, feelings, sensations. Notice what's happening around you in the environment, but crucially, do it without judgment and just gather the data like a neutral scientist. And only then, P, proceed mindfully. Now you can choose how to move forward based on your observation with intention rather than just reacting automatically.
That non-reactivity piece is so powerful, especially with difficult emotions like anger. I think sometimes people think mindfulness means suppressing anger, but that's not it at all, is it?
Not at all. In fact, it's almost the opposite. It increases your awareness of the anger. It's like it slows down time. You start to notice the subtle buildup, the little thoughts, the physical sensations that come before the full explosion. You see the whole chain reaction, point A to point Z, and that awareness gives you choices at earlier points. Instead of reacting when you're already at Z, you can notice it starting at, say, point C or D. You can choose then to focus on the physical sensations of the anger, maybe the heat, the tightness, bring your breath to it, acknowledge its presence with maybe even a bit of compassion without letting it dictate your actions.
Accepting its presence without acting on it. That's the key. Okay, and we can apply this same kind of awareness to self-care too, right? Especially thinking about burnout. We need to be smarter about how we recharge.
Yes, absolutely fundamental. Because let's be honest, a lot of what passes for self-care, like just zoning out scrolling on your phone, doesn't actually address the root cause of why you're feeling depleted. It's untargeted. Mindfulness helps us do a kind of diagnostic check-in to figure out where the burnout is actually coming from. There's a helpful model for this, the PEMSS model, PEMSS, right? That stands for the different dimensions of well-being: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and social. It's like a full system check. Precisely.
So you use mindful awareness to ask yourself targeted questions in each area.
It's the basics. Am I getting enough sleep? Am I hydrated? Have I moved my body?
How am I really feeling? Am I labeling my emotions accurately? Have I made space for positive feelings too?
What's my cognitive load like? Am I constantly multitasking? When did I last engage my brain in something just for interest or fun?
This isn't necessarily religious, it's about meaning and values. Are my actions aligned with what's truly important to me? Do I feel connected to a purpose? How are my connections? Have I set healthy boundaries, maybe with social media or draining interactions? Have I genuinely connected with someone supportive?
By running through this kind of mindful check-in regularly, you can figure out, okay, today it's my mental energy that's drained, or I'm feeling socially disconnected. And then you can apply targeted self-care that actually addresses that specific need, instead of just, eating a tub of ice cream and hoping for the best. That makes so much sense. Moving from generic coping to targeted recharging, which brings us perfectly to our final section. How do we take this beyond just individual practice? How do we make it a team sport? Because as you said, if the underlying company culture is the problem, individual mindfulness can feel like just putting a Band-Aid on a deeper issue. It really has to be systemic. It can't just be a one-off workshop or an app subscription offered by HR. It needs to be woven into the fabric of the organization, the strategy, the leadership expectations, the daily rhythms. And this gets at the interdependence principle. Individual mindfulness and the collective mindfulness of a team or organization, they feed each other. They're linked. There was a really interesting study mentioned in our sources done in a high-stress military setting. They compared a standard individual mindfulness training, often called MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, with a newer approach called team mindfulness training, or TMT. The TMT included the individual skills, but also focused specifically on collective awareness and social dynamics within the team.
Okay, so one focused purely on the individual, the other integrated a team element. What was the key difference in the results?
Well, both programs were effective at teaching individuals stress management skills. But the TMT program, the team-focused one, seemed much better at actually building collective capacity. And here's the crucial finding. Only the soldiers who went through the TMT program, the ones operating in that more collectively mindful team environment, reported being able to actually use their new stress management skills effectively during really intense, high-pressure operational moments. It suggests that fostering that collective mindfulness, making it okay and expected within the team, creates the psychological safety needed for individuals to actually apply these skills when the pressure is highest. It's not just about knowing this skill, it's about feeling safe enough to use it.
Wow, so the team environment unlocks the individual potential in high-stress situations, and that collective focus probably encourages more supportive, pro-social behavior, too.
It absolutely does. When a team shares that kind of awareness, it tends to foster more empathy, better communication, more mutual support, pro-social behaviors. And engaging in those behaviors, helping others, connecting meaningfully, is itself a powerful buffer against stress. It's often overlooked, but helping others actually boosts the well-being of the person doing the helping too. It creates this positive upward spiral for the whole team or organization.
So if an organization really wants to cultivate this kind of sustainable, resilient, high-performing culture using mindfulness, what are the practical steps? What did the research suggest are the key implementation strategies?
Okay, several key things emerged. First, you absolutely need genuine buy-in from senior leaders. They need to be visible champions, even if they start out a bit skeptical themselves. Their behavior sets the tone. Second, it has to be practical and integrated into the workday. Not just formal meditation sessions, but maybe encouraging mindful walking between meetings or starting meetings with a brief moment of focused attention. Make it relevant. Third, measure the impact seriously. Go beyond just asking people if they like the training. Look at harder metrics over time, things like employee retention, absenteeism, maybe even healthcare costs if possible. Show the long-term value. And finally, embed it across the entire employee journey. Think about how mindfulness skills can be relevant in recruitment, definitely in leadership development programs, even in how teams approach critical decision-making processes. Make it a core capability, not just an optional extra.
This has been such a rich, deep dive. It really underscores that mindfulness isn't passive relaxation. It's active mental training. It takes consistent effort, discipline. And like any training, physical or mental, you're going to have days where it feels harder, where your mind wanders constantly. The key seems to be perseverance, and maybe just as importantly, treating yourself with some self-compassion during the process. Don't beat yourself up for not being perfectly focused.
Well said. We've seen how this practice, with roots stretching back centuries, is now being validated by modern science as a powerful tool. A tool for sharpening individual performance, enhancing decision-making clarity by boosting that metacognitive awareness, and building both personal and collective resilience. So to wrap up, here's a final thought for you to consider, to mull over after listening.
If the real power of mindfulness gets unlocked, not just through individual solitary practice, but through these collective eyes-open awareness practices woven into how teams and organizations function, then what's one small, subtle, maybe even non-meditative act of focused awareness you could bring into your own professional interactions starting today that might benefit both yourself and the people around you? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.